Welcome to the Speak and Get What You Want podcast, where you learn to communicate like the world's most successful leaders. Now, here are your hosts, TK Stratton and Chad Kirby. How do you lead some of the hardest people that are out there to be led? How do you lead them? That's what we're going to be talking about today with the great Jerome King, one of the most gifted sales leaders you'll ever meet. Jerome, good to be with you.
Great to be here, Chad.
You know, it's interesting. You've always been successful wherever you have gone in leading salespeople. And a lot of people listening, they're, commissioned to lead different groups of people. And salespeople, they're some of the hardest people to lead. So what is your philosophy that really gets these salespeople to buy in to your philosophy, to your methodology, and take them to a whole new level?
Basically, I think of myself when I was in their shoes, and all I ever wanted is I brought the desire to the table. I had a family to feed. I had all the motivation. But what I noticed is literally when I wasn't given an even chance.
Hmm.
So one of the things that I do on my team is I don't play any favorites
Okay.
because if someone's not an A player, then why are we doing this? It's like I level them up or I level them out, but ultimately I don't play favorites. I treat all my reps the same. And in turn, what's amazing is they literally respond to that. They know it. They trust me. If your reps don't trust you as a leader, you're in trouble. You're going to lose them. But
Uh,
when you gain that trust, they will stay late naturally without you asking them if they have to hit their number. Also, the second one is I tell the reps, if I care about your sales number more than you do,
hmm.
we got a problem. We got a big problem.
Right.
And so what I do is I get their mindset is here's a track that's been built. It's proven.
Hmm.
You're like a racehorse. I want you to run on it as fast as you want. Every once in a while, we're going to get a pothole here and there. I'll fix it, but your job is just to run and run as far as you want and as fast as you want. And they love that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all a sales rep really wants in life. It's a
Uh,
fair chance, be treated like a grown up, and know that I got their back because I treat everybody the same, no favorites.
Oh, you said Romy, and it's Jerome King, but Jerome and I go back a
Go with
long time.
Romy, that's what everybody calls me.
Call him Romy, but you said two powerful things. Now, everyone listening, I really want you to really marinate in these 2 points. And there's other things he mentioned, but I want to highlight two. The one that you said is when you approach anyone that you're leading, you think about putting yourself in their shoes. And so, in essence, you are mindful of making them successful, right? You think to yourself, okay, how do I help them win? How do I make them successful? And so many leaders, Romy, they approach the situation thinking, how can I be successful? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you cannot mask that. We've all had leaders that really have our best interest or their best interest, right? And we know the difference. We can see through it. Even those who think they're great at masking that, eventually people see through it and see them for who they really are. Now, that's an extremely important point you bring up there that you say, okay, I want to remember what it was like to be in their shoes. I want to make them successful. One of the most important leadership principles that I ever can be taught, you're teaching right now when you go, okay, if I want to be an effective leader, I make those around me successful. And they rise to the top. And I've witnessed it firsthand, Romy. I've watched you go into different organizations and elevate people to a higher status, and they deliver for you, and they'll walk through a wall for you. It's crazy, Romy. When I talk to people that have worked with you will do anything for you because of that one leadership principle that you're always buying into, and that's how can I help other people be successful.
Yeah, and there's a fine line. You can't do it for them. If they
Right.
bring the desire, the work ethic to the table, It's literally, if I was in their shoes, would I want me as their leader?
Ooh.
And how would I want to be treated?
Okay, that's
And
a
that's how
that's a
I mold
great
everything.
question. If I was in their shoes, would I want me to be their leader? And
Hmm.
that's something we talk about self-awareness frequently, Romy, and that's something that's really important for us to really stop and be self-aware and like think to ourselves, would I want me to be their leader? And then Romy, I just want to highlight that second point that you brought up, and that is this: too many people think that they're experts at reading people. And what I mean by that is this, Romy. They'll sit back and they'll go, okay, I hire these 10 sales reps or I hire these 10 team members. I can pick out the three that are going to be most successful, right? So they pick out those three and they start showing favoritism towards those three,
Yep.
right? And 90% of the time, Romy, they pick the wrong three. And so what
100%.
what you're saying is, look, I don't buy into that philosophy at all. I will just hire those 10 sales reps, then I'll let them determine who's the most successful. I'm going to keep the playing field even for them, which that is a hard thing to do, Romy. So how do you do that? How do you not show the favoritism that 99% of the people out there are inclined to show?
I look beyond the team. I mean, once again, when I make decisions, it's like, is this really fair? Is this being
Mm,
honest?
mm,
And I try to take out the emotion out of it, let the numbers just speak for themselves, let the process that you put into place keep people accountable. And
right.
what's interesting is when I've taken over a lot of sales teams, and usually you got the guys that are your main guys, and I can see the favoritism there. And so when I hold them to the same accountability as one of the other reps, it's interesting. The other reps level up to them. The higher reps never level down. And so what I'm doing is I'm leveling up the team and letting you know this is the standard. And if this isn't for you, it's okay. Let's go find you something else out there in the world to go sell. This spot just isn't for you. And
Right.
that's all right. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you said there, and I hope everyone heard it when you said, I remove emotion from the equation and let the numbers speak for themselves.
100%.
And that's something hard to do as a leader because you want to really, sometimes as leaders, people want to become emotionally connected with those who they work with. And
Yeah.
so they
To play
really,
favorites. Yeah.
right, right. I mean, you and I, we were talking before we started recording about Rob Haggerty, one of the best sales reps that you and I have been around, right? And Rob just did his thing. He just did his thing, but he wasn't out there trying to be the favorite. He wasn't out there, what you would say
Right.
being political. And so some people would be like, "Oh, Rob, he's not a team player." Well, yeah, he is. He's the number one sales rep. So
Yep.
remove emotion for a moment and just let the numbers do the talking.
Yeah. Just think of it like this: A players want to work with A players. They don't want to work with B or C players.
No.
And so, like when I take over a team, I can tell who my A players are by their disciplines, by their actions, by their numbers, how they carry themselves,
Mm,
but most importantly, how they treat their other teammates too. Are they buddy buddy, or are they truly trying to be a coworker that is going to level them up? There's a big difference. There's salespeople that are number one in organizations, and they're okay, they're happy. But the minute they're not number one, all of a sudden they want to tear the place down.
mm,
And so, literally, that's not an A player. An A player is a
right.
team player, looks out for the best of others. Like for me, doing this for 25 years, there's a lot of times I was number one as a sales rep. But
Yeah.
what I noticed is there's a difference between number one and no one else hitting quota, and I was the only one, or what I got the most fulfillment of is everybody hit quota but I still beat them all. That's an A player. That's what I want on my team.
I love
And
that.
whenever, and you're not going to win every month. And so literally, other A players will go up to him like a Jeff too. I'd be like, dude, you got me this month. Good job, bro. I got you. I got you next month. That's what I
Right?
want on the team. We
Right?
don't tear people down.
I
And
I,
so
l-
that's
I love
that's
that.
that's how we do it.
And that's got to contribute to the culture of your sales team
Yeah.
culture, because all of us know what a toxic culture looks like. We've most of us have been a part of a toxic culture like that. So how do you protect and make sure that that toxicity doesn't enter in to your cultures, Romy? Because you've done it so many times, and you've walked into toxic cultures before and cleaned them up. And so is that, I mean, is that
Basically, I know going into something what I'm getting into for the most part.
hmm,
And what I know is I like it in sales reps. I want race horses.
hmm,
And I always use that analogy. I want them to be able to run on the track. So what I look at first is what are the processes? Where can we make some tweaks to fine tune and get everything better and measurable so accountability can be there?
right?
And then you turn them loose. And it doesn't matter if a political person is political, they're not going to last. They don't have a chance because I don't play favorites. And they are the ones that if I come into a sales org brand new, they're the ones knowing I'm their boss and they want to invite me to lunch the next day. And it's like, no, no, we don't go to lunch. Like they try to do the shortcuts to win that emotional win.
Right?
And I don't care about that. I care about my reps, but I want it to, once again, you got to have an even playing field and turn them loose because political sales reps cannot compete in that world. They will be exposed. At the end of the day, if you're running a sales org, you want everybody is that they are racehorses. My job is I give them food and water and I leave them alone and let them do their thing. That's a good sales org.
And
If
that's a
I've
good, Romy,
always,
that's a good organization, period. Whether it's a
yeah,
sales org, whether it's the finance department, whether it's customer service, whatever it is,
it
it's the same philosophy.
is. You know, there's some racehorses, the political ones, that want you to brush them, hand feed them, you know, tuck them to bed. I'm not into that. It's like you're a grown up, you have a number to hit. Put you in the best position possible to hit it. That's my job.
And you know what's interesting, Romy, is when you create that culture, you attract those racehorses
Yes.
that you're talking about, right? So we had referenced Rob Haggerty earlier. That culture that he was a part of the organization that you and I were at, he watched it become quite political. So what happened? He eventually walked out the door, right? The
Yeah.
number one sales guy walks out the door. And guess what? The culture was so political that people were like, okay, all right, we'll just let
Yeah,
him
that's
walk
his
out the door,
problem, not ours. They won't look
right?
in the mirror. Yep.
Isn't that crazy to think?
It's totally crazy.
But that's something that's real. And that political bug that bites so many organizations, Romy, is real. So how
Yep.
do you stay on track to make sure that you don't get bit by that bug? Is it what you referenced earlier? Just let the numbers do the talking?
Yeah, let the numbers I'm just not a political person. I want
Hmm,
results.
hmm,
Because what I find is when you have a sales org that everyone's accountable evenly, everyone is running, they're coming to work, they enjoy work now because you have the freedoms. And what happens is over time, that's become their habit. That's what they expect. That's what they
right.
want. Nobody wants to be micromanaged.
No, no.
And so that's where the balance is. I have the track built, I hold them accountable, but then they see me hold the next person to the same accountability. That's the magic.
Hmm,
That's what makes them say, "Wow, this we're all in this together." Because if I hold somebody accountable different than someone else, we got a problem. You can't do that in an org. That's where the politics comes in.
right.
And so when you have spiffs, they're clear. They're not. There's no favoritism. When you have a president's club, It's straightforward. It's the numbers do the talking, and here's what it takes to get there. Go get it. The winner wins. And but what's interesting is the ones that don't win, they're still okay because they're like, hey, I gave it. Hey, they got me. But it's when somebody wins and they got extra favoritism that destroys a sales org every
Right.
single time.
Every time. It's interesting because when Rob was on the phones and I was out speaking, I would, Rob and I would talk to each other and I'd say, "Listen, Rob, I can outsell you." And he'd say, "Only from stage. I would destroy you on the phone." But there was that
Yeah.
healthy banter. And then if I had a huge month or he had a huge month, there was that mutual respect because it's okay if you get beat a month because the playing field's level. What's frustrating is when they don't feel that. And unfortunately, Romy, so much of that is associated with the corporate atmosphere. Now, this is the question I have for you, Romy, because you thrive in the corporate atmosphere. You're heading up sales in a corporation right now that is incredibly successful. So when people say, "Oh, that toxic sales corporate atmosphere," how are you thriving in it? Is it you haven't changed? Is it that you're staying constant? What is it that you attribute your success to?
I would say I develop, well, I find out first off, where are the holes in their processes in the
Mm,
sales org? Where are they not efficient? I don't blow it up. I make tweaks to make it better. I sit down with the reps and say, what are you running into? Where are you frustrated at? So I'm there for them because I come in to fix it. That's why I'm there. That's why they bring me on. And so I listen to the reps in my one-on-ones. We'll have a team meeting first, and I say, I'm going to have one-on-ones with you. I want everyone to make a list of things that you're frustrated with, no matter what it is with here at work. And let's go over them, and it'll be confidential. And so then when I sit down with them, I mean, it's interesting. The ones that I could tell right away who are the favorites, they don't really have a list. But the ones that are not favorites will have a list, and it'll usually include, I don't have a chance beating that person because they get this, this, and this. And so now I know what I'm dealing with. And so then I go in and I look at numbers and I look at processes and I look at where they were, where does the company want to go, and I put together a game plan, like a 30, 60, 90, and things I need to tweak. So then I can get the political people either to get back down to earth and focus on my numbers is what's going to get me there and not my friendships. Or I go to dinner with the VP or the CEO all the time. That's why I'm this. And then I have the other ones, which interesting are the ones that are not a part of that club. Those are the ones that actually, in the long run, end up being the A players
interesting.
because they were always working.
Right.
They just wanted an
Right.
even playing field.
That's
And
all
so
they're
then what's interesting is when you deal with politicalness, they will eat their own. They will turn on each other.
mm,
And I've seen that firsthand.
oh yeah.
All of a sudden, they're not going to dinner with the CEO. All of
Right.
a sudden, it's the other one. Like, it's interesting. It's a phenomenon that I can't explain. But at the end of the day, a sales org wants consistency and the ability to project where they are going and how we get there. They want measurables throughout it. And that's
Well,
what I try to provide.
and so Romy, they want to flex their muscle. But you said, what I do is I come in and I listen and I look to see where those gaps may be. And that, Romy, that is so key in leadership because you don't come in and just start throwing everything out the window. You listen and say, okay, where are the holes? Where is the opportunity? And
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, and you've seen me do this when I go into an organization, I'll just kind of keep to myself too. Like I'll be in the meeting thing. I just keep to myself because I want to see who your political people will always expose themselves and try to be your buddy and this and that. while your worker ones are they're just working. That's all
Right.
that's just what they're doing. So I can differentiate, okay, when I have a one-on-one with that person, I know who I'm dealing with compared to a worker bee, if you will. And so literally, it's not that I don't like the political ones. It's just that they need to understand I'm not political. I don't care. I don't go to lunch with my reps. I do as a team, but I don't go individually with my reps. Never, never. I don't go to dinner with them. We go as a team, but never individually. And when I bring in food, I bring it in for my whole team, not individually.
Mm.
Because we're a team. That's my job. If they want to go to lunch, they go to lunch among themselves. I don't care. Do that. That's just not my role.
Right.
But what's interesting is when you do things like that, that's the fairness. That's what everybody really wants deep down,
Hmm.
and it
No
strikes a
question.
nerve.
Yeah.
And when you strike that nerve, they know though when I go to battle for them, they know I got their back. Everybody does
Right.
because they know I treat everybody the same. When I have team meetings, I feel them. I'm very transparent with my team. I was just managing, and I just moved to another team. I would tell them what I would talk to the CEO about in my weekly meetings or
Love,
bi-weekly meetings.
love that.
I would say, this is the message. This is what's the expect. Like they. It's incredible. That's all. They want to be treated like grown-ups. That's all we all want to do.
I love
We want a place to work that I can just do my thing.
and people truly crave that consistency, Romy, and it's a huge insight into why you're successful. Romy, the content was amazing. Your insights are so valuable. We'll do this again and have you on again where we can even unpack more of your incredible methods and strategies that help lead people to success. Thanks for being
Let's
with us,
do it.
Romy. Great being with you. Have a good day,
Thank you,
everyone.
brother.
All right.
Take care.
Bye now.